Hello, my fellow readers. This is Dark Symphony 777 with another fan fiction review. As always, a link to the story will be in the description below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, click on that bell for notifications, leave a comment in the comment section below on your thoughts on the story, and finally, listen to my opinion. My opinion is not indicative of everyone in the world, so please respect that. So, the review I am doing today is Luigi's Mansion Tomb Service Redux. On the title, it's just going to say Tomb Service. I'm not going to review the original, I'm only going to review the Redux version. This is part 2 of the Luigi's Mansion fanfictions, the other one being Hotel Horror, which I already did. If you remember, back when I did Hotel Horror, I said that story had one really, really big problem. And all I said for that was, like, Tomb Service exists. Because at the time, I was around chapter 13 of this story when I reviewed Hotel Horror. I said, this is really good. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not even going to wait. This is a Better Off Alone tier story. It's a really, really good story. So, what is the plot? Well, the plot is really the only thing that this story has in common with Hotel Horror. It's basically yet another pseudo-novelization. It's more of a rewrite of the events of Luigi's Mansion 3. It's just now Daisy is joining Luigi. However, how it's done in this story is much different than how it was done in Hotel Horror. In Hotel Horror, EGOD basically said, here's Luigi's vacuum from the Luigi's Mansion 2. Go wild. In this story, Daisy instead is given these item called the Phantasma Gloves, which allows her to physically grab onto ghosts, basically physically interact with ghosts, and just wail them. It's like, you thought I wouldn't touch you. Wait, how the hell you? She's watching me. Let her go. No. It's a much different vibe than Hotel Horror. I'm gonna stop talking about Hotel Horror because otherwise I'm gonna drag that on anymore. This story has a completely different vibe from the original Luigi's Mansion because I finally got around to actually seeing like gameplay of the game. This is a very tense story. This is a great suspenseful adventure story. It's really amazing. So, is there anything other difference from the nuances that the story has from the original? Yes. For one thing, Daisy's actually captured by Chimbria. Basically, Daisy's very stubborn in the story. And she actually gets captured by King Boo. Like, when King Boo shows up, she goes charging, cocks back a fist. King Boo just looks unimpressed and just summons a painting right in front of her, and she just runs into it. It's like, oh, Daisy fucked up. And he just like, just tosses the painting away because, like, I don't care who that is. I also like a lot of the neat touches of all of the more enhanced focus on the grand ghost, the boss ghosts of the floors. And we get, like, not only, like, more personality for them, but also showcases how wicked Helen is, because for the most part, she's forcibly manipulating the ghosts through, like, mind trouble, because Helen Gravely is a siren in this story. I think the only exceptions to that rule are Stuart is, like, so physically weak that she doesn't need to do anything. Chimbria, who's more of a kleptomaniac, and Helen just didn't give a flying fuck about her. And Lindsay, one of the magician triplets, who Helen's like, okay, I got the two sisters. I can just bully her. I don't need to do that. The mentally weakest one. And also Captain Fishhook, because her powers apparently don't work that well on animals, so she's like basically forced him to work serving seafood to everyone, and he's just constantly, like, pissed off about it. It's like, hey, Captain, you alright? I'm alright, mate. you cook you serve salmon. Anyone actually have salmon? Someone and I even like the touch of keeping some of the backstories of the ghosts saved for the end. Like you can see right here, it's like cause of death X, and then it's like just a little info about him, about how he worked for the Last Resort and how he really hates Helen Gravely, and I like some of these. Like some of them are just unknown, crushed by bellhop. I do admit having Clem die from being drowned in piss is kind of fucking gross. It's just I don't I'm just wondering how the hell how do you get into a situation when you drown by piss? I will never ever know. Oh, oh. The only one I don't like is of like specifically about Ghost from a character and plot standpoint actually is actually Fishhook. I think the story does a good enough job of establishing like all the quirks of all these characters, like their likes, their dislikes, and their personality, how they blend into the story, and how each floor is like a different experience of date for Luigi and Daisy to get through, and like fair like even the tone and the genre slightly shift. Like for instance, uh uh I'm having a brain fart on the ghost name. This guy McCastle. Lolly McCastle. um, where the oh my god. McFrights, that's the name. McFrights goofing on him being a more traditional story. Then you have Ugg. Where the fuck is the Ugg? Where the here it is. Walk Away from the Dinosaur, you have Ugg, who's just basically like a very suspenseful story. I'll talk more about Ugg at the end. Yeah, spoiler alert, my favorite. This Ugg chapter is my favorite part of the entire story. And I like how each chapter basically gives something different to the overall dynamics of the story, the dynamics of Daisy and Luigi and how they interact, and how Luigi plays a part, or how uh, the Polterpup and later the Poltercat go, and how everything just blends together. It's a really well crafted story that I think the original author just basically trimmed everything from the original Toon Service down, and just here are the bare essentials of the whole thing. There are some minor nitpicks I have about the story. It doesn't take away from how good the story is. First thing off is I'm I don't like the idea of Luigi being autistic. I, this is more this is a subjective thing. I just don't like. I think Luigi's not really portrayed that well as autistic. Like I get what the author is trying to do. Like, okay, they make him having like obsessed with like shiny, but that's not really autistic. That's ADHD, and ADHD is not autistic. And then there's the mental breakdowns, like early in the story, but that doesn't read like him having like an emotional breakdown, because it is something you need to know about some autistic people. When they get overwhelmed, like okay, I'm gonna have to bring up another fanfic. The Bee Who Couldn't Fit In. Super Mario Brothers Ultimate, those thing about Brittany. I said that was a very, very well done, executed story showing a really realistic take on someone with Asperger's syndrome. And I mentioned in that review that whenever, like, talking about her book, like, whenever her emotions get overwhelmed, she just opens the book, she reads it, and she uses that to stabilize her emotions and calm down. There is actually another way for certain autistic people to deal with their emotions, and that is emotional detachment. Basically, they mentally lock themselves down, and they temporarily detach all emotions from their body. So they basically just look like an apathetic, like marionette, like that can barely function as they mentally detach themselves from their emotions to try and, in essence, reboot their mind. The problem with this, and this story specifically, is this doesn't really come off like Luigi having that idea. Like it does a better job in the UG chapter, but that's more of a. But that's not Luigi suffering from emotional detachment. That's suffering from like emotional breakdown. But then you have the early chapters where Luigi just turns apathetic. Like instead of like the emotions overwhelming him and he detaches himself to kind of regulate it, it's more like he hears a voice inside his head. It's like hurt him, and then Luigi willingly detaches his emotions from his mind in order to get the job done on like a very pathetic Officer Kruller. That's not really autism. That reads more like sociopathy. And I'm gonna be honest, author, if you are attaching uh Luigi's your autism, because in the first chapter it says I'm autistic, so I'm putting a piece of my autism onto Luigi, and you're suffering from that, I would honestly politely suggest getting reevaluated, because you might not even have autism, you may just be a sociopath. I'm just saying, you don't have to do it. I'm just saying it's a suggestion. And I like that's there is one other issue where is I need to find there it is. Phantom of the Theater. This is the chapter where they fight Wolfgeist, and Wolfgeist is presented in story as like the powerful member of the entire group. He's basically like, okay, the buck stops here. He's the only one who can really kind of stand up to Helen, although he falls under it too because he kind of manipulates it. Uh, there is a plot hole here. Basically, in order for Helen to manipulate Amadeus, because Amadeus was honestly just gonna the give Luigi the light bulb, the elevator button. Just I don't really. I want him to stop you. So I'm just gonna give him the button. Just go away. Helen brainwashes Amadeus into thinking that they hurt his adopted daughter, DJ Phantasmagoria. So when they're fighting Amadeus, they're constantly Amadeus is constantly referring to "You hurt my Gloria, I am going to hurt you." And then does Luigi and Daisy stop Amadeus, defeat Amadeus? Luigi honestly just says, "Oh, we didn't hurt DJ Phantasmagoria," and that just broke me out of the immersion, completely. Because first off, how does he know that her full name is DJ Phantasmagoria? Amadeus never referred to her as Phantasmagoria, just Gloria. Second off, Luigi also mentions, "Oh, she's guarding the elevator button in like the penultimate floor." How does he know a floor? Uh, how does he know what floor that's on? You can make an assumption that since at the beginning of the story, when Luigi's observing the foyer, they come across a sign where like certain areas are. So it's like, okay, the dance floor is on the 14th floor. Okay, you can make an argument for that, but that still doesn't make the argument for how Luigi knows that he's referring specifically to DJ Phantasmagoria. It just doesn't make any sense. It's just a really weird plot hole, because that's never really like knowing future ghosts, like future floors and stuff. That's never really referred to at any other point. It's only referred to the Amadeus fights, and so it doesn't make any sense narrative wise. It honestly would have made more sense narrative wise for Amadeus to literally overpower Helen's hold on him and then just willingly gave him the button and let him get sucked up. But that's just me. I even when it comes to the plot, I even like some of the Daisy centric chapters. That's another thing the story does better than Hotel Horror. I know I'm bringing up Hotel Horror again. This story does a better handling on Daisy and how she's incorporated into the story, because there are some parts of the story where Daisy has to take charge, either through like with Luigi having a mental breakdown, so she kind of has to take charge of the whole thing, or when they're dealing with Clem and Billy, and Clem and Billy basically get Luigi and take him and hold him hostage. Luigi has to go through the entire boiler works and fight both ghosts by herself. It's a really, really well done execution on Daisy's role in the story. Give her more importance, make her very different from Luigi, because Luigi's basically has to use the vacuum to suck up, while Daisy, playing to her strengths as a more physical person, basically just physically wails on the ghost to the point where a lot of the ghosts are just, it's like, we're willing to deal with the green stash. Yes. The princess? We're not touching her. Nope. I'm not dealing with getting punched in the face by a muscly chick. But isn't that your fetish? Shut up, you! I think it's really well done. Even like a lot of the nuances. I think again, Fishhook's probably the only ghost I don't really like from a plot standpoint, because this whole thing is just so inconsequential. It's kind of just skippable. It's just very skippable. They don't add any. It doesn't really add anything. Character wise, I liked a lot of the characters. Even Fishhook, I like as a character. His whole Barbie thing. I think the whole. I didn't actually find his goddamn chapter again. Yeah, it is. I think it's just kind of weird, the whole. I just noticed that's a grammar error. I read this the first time. I didn't even notice this is a grammar error. I think this is kind of weird. Because, so male fisherman kills a female shark. At the same time, the female shark kills the human, and their souls kind of combined. There's talking, this is kind of the weird thing, because it's Luigi's man just connected to the Mario world, and the Mario world has talking fish and even ghost fish. So this is just kind of overcomplicating it for some reason. I don't know why I didn't like this idea. I just it could be the fact that character wise, I like Fishhook as a character, but he's just as a chapter. This is just such a boring chapter. I just didn't like it. But going back to the characters, first off, from a character standpoint, I love what the author did with Luigi and Daisy. Basically, their whole dynamic. Basically, Luigi and Daisy have a dynamic of courage versus bravado. Luigi is basically everyone knows who Luigi is in terms of Luigi's Mansion games. He's a scared little goofball. He's frightened of everything. He kind of coils up and locks in, but he knows that his brother Mario is in danger, and thus is willing to brave it even though he's scared, which is what courage is. Daisy is actually the inverse of Luigi. Basically, she wanting to appear strong to Luigi. Daisy purposely casts herself as this really, really strong, mentally strong, physically strong, emotionally strong woman who basically is nah, no one hurts my man. I got buy one fist, get one fist free sort of deal. But in the inside, Daisy is just as afraid of everything going around her as Luigi. And I like that dynamic of Daisy trying to appear like this amazingly strong woman in front of him, to basically kind of keep his hopes up, to keep reminding him that she has someone beside him to help him on his journey. But over the course of the story, you can see the cracks starting to show in Daisy's bravado as it slowly wears itself out when Daisy and Luigi are put in more and more danger, to the point where she actually, partway through the tomb suites, she has like quite literally a mental breakdown and reveals that she's just as scared of everything around her as Luigi, and she put up this big wall to help, just basically not only help herself but also help him kind of overcome all the events, which I think is a really cool dynamic of this courage, and bravado mind style, and it really elevates Daisy's character to a honestly a really unique take that I've actually never read before. I'm always used to Daisy being presented as like the inverse of Princess Peach, being like this. Peach is like this demure, kindful woman who basically is endlessly kind, while Daisy's just basically this tough tomboy who thinks with her fist first and asks questions later. So having her be in this version in inverse of Luigi instead of Peach is actually something I've never read before. I read a lot of Mario fan fictions, I read a lot of Daisy fan fictions, and I never seen this specific take on Daisy. All the Grand Ghost I really love from personality. They all add something different to each story. I think again, I think maybe Morty might be the weakest, mainly because he's the only one the author doesn't really change that much from the canon stuff, with the exception of him actually wanting to pass on into the afterlife because he wants to be with his sister in the afterlife, which I think is like, okay, that's something kind of different. Uh, Probably my favorite character from a character point is actually Cersei, who is, let me actually get a picture of her. Like, this is Cersei right here. This is what she looks like. She's basically an Egyptian themed ghost. In this story, she's basically a Luigi super fan. I love that. It's like because in the Tomb Suite, there's like these hieroglyphics that basically look Luigi, and so they kind of place into that. It's like, no, she's just a big fan of the guy. And so throughout her chapters, because she's the only character that has like 3 chapters dedicated to her, because of how complex character wise she is compared to all the other ghosts. So they kind of have to build her up. Helen tries to actually take over her mind, control her, and basically convince her like, oh yeah, Luigi can stay here forever. And Cersei actually resists it for a while. It's revealed partway through that Cersei's actively resisting it, but then she eventually gets overcome by Helen's powers, and to the point where the entire fight is done by Daisy because, well, Cersei now is basically physically holding Luigi. He can't do anything. She's hiding behind all her tricks and traps and her sand powers and it's basically forcing Daisy to have to think on her feet, because she also has Polterpup and Polter Kitty next to each other, and she still doesn't trust Polter Kitty. So she has to think on her feet and like how to figure out how to get Luigi away from Cersei. And then eventually it's revealed that Cersei actually committed suicide because in her backstory it's revealed that her father was actually a sultan of a ancient Egyptian civilization. He died. She was basically forced onto the throne before she was even ready, and she mentally could not handle the stress, and so she committed suicide. And it's implied the empire that the empire that she was ruling crumbled after her death, and she sees Luigi as like an inspiration, like the whole you're scared but you're still able to carry on and move on and do all these good things. I want to be like you. And so the ending to her fight is not even them fighting her, but more trying to like get her to overcome the brainwashing that Helen is actually putting on her and convince her to like give them the button peacefully. And so she actually breaks free from Helen's control, gives them the button, and instead of being sucked up, she literally just goes, I'm going, Luigi-san. She forces herself into the poltergeist, and like Even Daisy and Luigi are confused. Like, did she just? Yes. um, ha. It's just kind of funny. At the end, a little bit of levity. I think I think Cersei is the best friend of the Ghost. Corolla is a good character. I one other detail I want to bring up related to the Ghost before I move on to the grammars and stuff like that is actually Shambria. I really love the touch that you foreshadow the climax of the story, because the climax, King Boo basically possesses Mario, because like now it's 2-on-1. It's Helen and King Boo possessing Mario versus Luigi. Uh, at this point, Daisy is completely out of the game because her femur actually broke from Helen, and one of the like a ghost child, one of the mini hammers, basically drives the ghost container to like the corner, and all the ghosts are like all the boss ghosts are actually looking outside the container to the fight, and they're wondering how the hell we need to help them, because at this point, no, we're gonna beat the living daylights out of Helen now, and they're like, we can't get out. Amadeus, what we do? And he looks over and he sees Chambria, the only ghost that is implied to not be put like to have not been mentally brainwashed by Helen, because she's a kleptomaniac, and her whole and throughout the story, every time when it focused on the ghost in the container, Chambria was just constantly slamming the walls like, I want my briefcase. and then they realize, wait a minute, Chambria, what are you doing? Just no, wait, no, wait. Just forget about the briefcase. It's like, I'm not doing this for the briefcase anymore. And everyone goes like, huh? No, I'm trying to bust out to help that man, and maybe get my briefcase. And so they all willingly go like, wait a minute, she may be onto something. Ugh, what? Do you have anything to say about this? Ugh, think if all goes try on same spot, we may get out. Everyone, charge! And they basically just, thanks. I really love that clever foreshadowing, because it's like it plays into Chambria's character. It's like being the only one who's actually trying to get out, and then one push shoves us off. They realize, wait a minute, she's onto something, and so the climax has them all bust out of the chamber, and they're all basically all work with Luigi to take down Helen and King Boo, and also free King Boo from Mario and all that stuff. I think it's really well done. I even touched on Luigi's whole sentience thing. He's all right. I think he's probably the weakest character, mainly because his whole thing is that he doesn't really have a character until like near the very end of the story. So I'm willing to forgive the fact that Luigi doesn't have much of a character, because his whole thing is that he doesn't have much of a character. He's gaining sentience, and then he gets a character. So I think it's fine. And even like the end where they all build up the floors, and Chambria actually becomes the owner with Egad of the hotel, because like and even then she's like, I forgot about my briefcase, but I got it anyway. And it's a really nice thought. I just, the characters are all really well done. How they all blend into the story and give so much life and character to the hotel as a whole. It's really well done. Grammar wise, I know this is I know why the author did it this way, but I still have to bring this up, because grammar means I have to talk about the grammar. The author never actually correctly types out the dialogue. Now with this one, I can understand, because the quotation marks are on the same button. If you ever look at like any computer keyboard, a laptop or PC, the apostrophes and the quotation marks are on the same button. They're always on the same button. So I can understand why the author's like, I'm not going to use the quotation. I'm just going to use the apostrophes. It's still technically poor grammar. It is poor grammar, but it's more of a technicality, because one, the author does this for all dialogue, literally all dialogue. Every single bit of dialogue you can see right here has the apostrophes instead of quotation marks. So you can easily tell if something's dialogue by by seeing the apostrophes, so it's still easy to read, but it's still poor grammar because it's not because apostrophes are not used to dictate dialogue. It's quotation marks that are used to dictate dialogue. I had to bring it up. Pacing wise, I think the pacing is really well done. Each chapter is given enough length to kind of give you a good enough detail of each how each floor functions. Certain floors are longer than others, so if the only like really long single chapter is Ugg's chapter because of Ugg. But like Serpsy and the Boiler Works are both 3 chapters each, and they're all details on like how each floor's gimmicks and how they operate, and seamlessly blending the vibe and the setting of each floor, and how it even incorporating like gameplay, like the gameplay settings, like super suction or in parano in Morty's area, like they have the cameras that sets up it starts playing movies, and they're like actively and the ghosts are actually like helping them. It's like, Angela, need you to good. No, you can't get torch without unless camera on. Okay, turns on camera. War just fucking starts around them, and they just like, huh, what, huh? It's like, don't worry, it goes away when camera off. And it's just so. I think it's well done, and the pacing plays a long way of enhancing the vibe and the whole world building of the story, giving as much time to each like individual event and ghost and floor and how everything works. It all comes together in like a very very seamless way. I think it's all beautifully well done. Would I recommend the story? Of course, I said at the beginning, it's a Better Off Alone tier story. It's phenomenal. It's not to the level of Better Off Alone, which I think is like, wait, how many Mario fics have I done? Let's see, 1, 2. I'm actually curious. 3, because it's right here, numbers, and 4. 4 Mario fan fictions, all in Better Off Alone tier. What would I, if there's anything I would fix? I would change all the apostrophes to quotation marks, and also fix the plot hole in the Amadeus chapter. Instead of Luigi basically breaking Amadeus' control by mentioning, it's like, oh, we never ran into DJ Phantasmal. She's on the 14th floor. How are we gonna get there? Just basically have the fight end with Amadeus showing how powerful he actually is by when they tire him out, he actually breaks free from anyone else. Like you can say, we never hurt this Gloria person, and like he just basically breaks out through like his sheer power. I think that would be fine. Favorite part? Ugh. Holy fucking shit. I wasn't expecting the Ugg chapter to hit as hard as it did. Because, okay, let's get the big thing out of the way. This is the only chapter in the entire story where it was clear the ghost won. Like, at the end of the chapter, Ugg basically defeated Luigi. He basically had both Polterpup and Polterkitty almost down for the count. He had Daisy pretty much down for the count. Daisy had to do a literal Hail Mary because Ugg basically said, I will go with you if you have reason to that I can get away from hell. And it's like, and Daisy had to pull like a Hail Mary because at this point she's actually wearing the Poltergust, and she's like, if you go in this costume, I can put you in a container that'll be free from our control. And like it's even presented as like Daisy just like, oh please, God damn it, let this work, because if it doesn't, we're just dead. And Ugg's like, okay, okay, and just lets himself get absorbed into the Poltergust. But everything about this chapter is so tense. Like from the presentation of Daisy, of Ugg being sleeping, to Ugg basically saying, Ugg let you leave if you leave Ugg alone. To the point that when Ugg gets suitably pissed, they can't do any. Luigi and Daisy can't do jack against Ugg because Ugg is presented as this unmovable object that is constantly learning all the tricks that they're trying to throw at him. Like, okay, Luigi goes like, throw me at him. It's like, okay. Ugg's still possessed in the skeleton, T-Rex skeleton. It's like, I don't trust you, but you smell like coffee. I try anyway, just in case. Eat some. Then when they try the Luigi thing, it's like, not this time. They try the stone eggs, which is actually in game the reason how you're supposed to beat him. Goes like, I'll see that coming. Same thing with the skeleton bones. See that coming. And they throw everything at this guy. And it barely works. And when they try it again, basically wises up to their tricks, just continuously wears them down. Luigi starts suffering from a mental breakdown, an actual mental breakdown. Daisy has to take the poltergust from him, puts it on because she realizes Luigi's just completely gone. So I need to actually square up and deal with this guy myself. She gets her ass whooped because I can't deal with this shit. Manages to get Poltergust to take out the skeletal T-Rex by just basically forcibly breaking the femur. Well, not breaking it, but like removing it from the skeleton, causing it to collapse. Gets out, gets a club, basically starts wailing everyone's ass to the point, and it's such a great suspenseful moment because again, at the very end, it is portrayed as Ugg legitimately beating everyone. They tried everything. And it's such a tense moment and suspenseful filled moment of seeing them just try and fail and try to just get some kind of damage on the skeletal T-Rex and try something to defeat Ugg. It's a really, really well done chapter. It's just, if there's one part of this story I think you should go out of your way to read, it's this chapter. It's amazing. Now, before I end the video, I want to actually suggest a idea for the author. And it has to do with Miss Cersei. I really like Cersei as a character. That's the funny thing with like a lot of Luigi's Mansion fanfics. The only good ones focus on Melody Pianissima from the first game. So I think a good idea, if you want to follow up this story, have it focus on Cersei. Say, all right, so bear with me. Cersei's whole thing is that she doesn't have the confidence to really run everything because, she was hoisted as Pharaoh from a young age. It mentally broke her, and now she doesn't. And even in story, everyone, like, whenever someone needs something done, they look to her as, like, they see her as the leader, and she's just doesn't, and she's just so afraid of fucking up that she just kind of, like, How about have the story focus on Cersei learning to be a leader? You can even add Luigi and Daisy to the whole thing. You can have, say, like, either Cersei and her husband King McFright, because they kind of have to be together because it's a real at the end. They also have a kid. They either go to Sarazarland or even like to celebrate. Hell, to even celebrate the birth of the kid or even like a birthday or something. They invite Cersei and McFright to Sarazarland. Daisy basically hangs out with Cersei, saying, "I will teach you how to be a leader." And basically, the whole story could just be the A plot, Daisy trying to help Cersei overcome her insecurities and her fears of what happened. And you can, since Sarazarland is like deserty and sandy, you can make an assumption that Cersei was actually a ruler of one of the sections that Sarazarland is part of. Kind of show her the sights. You can, it's really sad that we don't get any stories on Sarazarland specifically. I think this would be a good idea to do that. So the A plot could just be Daisy helping Cersei become a proper leader she should be. And then you can also have like a jokey comedic B-side story where Luigi hangs out with Fright and they kind of bond and talk about like how to like raise a kid and stuff like that, like the troubles of raising like a ghost kid. or even like or even like going into like McFright's backstory with like he's a meth and like the whole idea of like method acting because that's his backstory. He's like a very very committed method actor, and so he's just kind of delusional and kind of believes himself to actually be a king because that's like the whole thing with method acting. And there's something there, you know. It'd be honestly a good idea. So yeah, I think that's all I really have to say about Tomb Service. I hope I hope you like it. This has been Dark Symphony 777 and cut.